Harbaugh's success is going to largely ride on his coaching staff, and the coordinators head up that list. Obviously, Josh Gaddis still in play as the offensive coordinator as we speak. Defensive coordinator was wide open with Don Brown being dismissed, and you got some news on that, which is an obvious connection to the family ties there in Baltimore.
Yeah, so he's eyeing Mike MacDonald, the Ravens linebacker coach, as the new defensive coordinator. We believe that could be a co-defensive coordinator spot, and he could look to, kind of go that route that they haven't done under Jim Harbaugh with the two defensive coordinators, one kind of running the show and the other guy with a title on there and, having some added responsibility. But they're waiting to make that official until after the Ravens are out of the playoffs. Obviously, they play next week, and they just got a big win over Tennessee this past weekend. So, that's kind of tight-lipped for now. But yeah, it's John Harbaugh's guy. I'm sure he got the recommendation from him. He's 33 years old. Didn't play college football, didn't play pro football, so he kind of got a jump start in the coaching realm. And I've talked to a writer from Georgia. I've talked to some guys, some writers in Baltimore, just to try to gather more information on him, and got an article coming out actually this afternoon on thewolverine.com with some intel on, their thoughts on the hire, kind of what his responsibilities have been and things like that. Highly regarded, apparently, engages well with the players, and has kind of risen his way up. This is kind of the trend you see it in the NFL with the guys like Sean McVay. He was the first one, right? And then all the young guys that had ever had a cup of coffee with him were getting hired as offensive coordinators or head coaches. Cliff Kingsbury, all these guys, Matt LaFleur. You don't see it as much on the defensive side, where you get this rising star who's a good, defensive mind. Like I said, young, but has been a position coach in the NFL for a few years. So now, does that mean that this is a great hire? That's going to remain to be seen. He went with kind of the younger route, the unproven route with Josh Gaddis, the offensive coordinator, a couple of years ago. Hasn't worked out exactly how they wanted it to. They switched to the spread offense, but that wasn't the only goal. They wanted to have a really productive offense, and they've been worse statistically the last 2 years than they were overall in 2018, when they were kind of mixed between the pro style West Coast and spread and all that. So unproven hire. We'll see how he is. All accounts, he's a good coach. Is he a good coordinator? All accounts, Josh Gaddis is a very good wide receivers coach. Is he a good offensive coordinator? I think he still has a lot to prove. Same thing will be the case with Mike MacDonald. But on the surface, I like a guy that coming in and being on the staff if you're Michigan. And we'll see exactly, what if they bring in a more proven guy with him or whatever. But in terms of staff shakeup, we're also hearing that they're looking to make some changes on the offensive side of the ball. So Ben McDaniels, the brother of Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offensive coordinator, has been the quarterback's coach the last 2 years. He is not going to be retained. And Jim Harbaugh might actually coach the quarterbacks on his own this year. And, they might look to possibly add an offensive coordinator. All those options are on the table. The timeline right now, like we've talked about, has been a little delayed because they had the whole contract situation to work out. But here we are. I think things are going to start to move a little more fast and furious over the next 14 days here. And news will start to pick up on exactly what Jim Harbaugh's staff is going to look like going forward.
Clayton, there was talk near the end of the season that Josh Gaddis might not be retained, but I got to think at this point, most of those positions have been filled across the country. It's we've separated ourselves from the season quite a bit. That he's pretty much safe in his spot.
Yeah, well, he's safe, I'd say, on the staff, and by the way, he's making, I think, like $1 million a year. So, whether or not, let's say he gets demoted, hypothetically, to just wide receivers coach or a co-offensive coordinator or whatever. Would that be insulting enough to go look somewhere else where you're probably not going to get $1 million a year and a coordinator title? I don't know. For me, I would take the $1 million, and continue to, to coach at Michigan. But at the same time, crazier things have happened. Josh Gaddis was actually hired as the offensive coordinator a couple of years ago, back in January, when Michigan already had an offensive coordinator. So this would not be beyond, the way Jim Harbaugh operates to just hire an offensive coordinator when you already have one. And then Pep Hamilton then ended up leaving a couple of weeks later and moving on. He's now the quarterback's coach for the Chargers. But So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the staff looks like. I assume Josh Gaddis will be continuing to coach at Michigan. He's under contract. There's a few coaches that actually their contracts expired yesterday, so they can either now re-sign, negotiate, whatever, move on. He was not one of them, so he's safe at least to be on the staff, and it seems like that is the direction they're going to go. But there's been talks of adding more offensive coaches, including a coordinator, so that wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. But yes, in terms of Josh Gaddis, I would assume that he continues to stay at Michigan here.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please smash the like button if you enjoy what we do here in providing college football analysis, discussion, debate, and analysis every day. Got Clayton Safey on the line from the Wolverine Mag. It's thewolverine.com on Rivals, so check them out right there. Again, an article just released. Check it out on the potential defensive coordinator hire, Mike MacDonald from the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, subscribe here. We talk college football every day. Hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live and dropping new videos. Now that Harbaugh's in place, the recruits know who their head coach is going to be. That makes recruiting easier. Some possible flips out there. It's always nice one to steal one from Sparty as well.
Yeah, so they're looking at, this has been a kid, Rayshawn Benny, who is a top 100 recruit. He's a defensive tackle out of Oak Park, which is just right outside of Detroit. He was considered a Michigan lean for a long, long time. And then connected well with the new coaching staff at Michigan State. Mel Tucker and his guys there really came after him and prioritized him. Michigan State beats Michigan unexpectedly. And then a few weeks later, he chooses Michigan State. Now, he also, had always said that he would continue the recruiting process after he committed somewhere and just wanted to sign on the late signing day in February. He actually originally wanted to decide then and announce it, probably on some sort of national scale at that point. But he realized they're probably not going to be able to take visits, until, these recruits will never be able to take visits. You hope, the 2022 kids will be able to take them next fall. But so he chose Michigan State, left the door open. Michigan is continuing to contact him. And, with the Jim Harbaugh contract situation resolved, that gives Michigan a huge shot at being able to flip him. This is a kid that still is receptive to the Michigan coaches, really likes Jim Harbaugh, who has a good relationship with him. So that's certainly one to keep an eye on. And yeah, it'd be a big win because, Mel Tucker has been known as a plus recruiter going back to his days at Georgia, started to recruit pretty well at Colorado when he was there for 1 year as the head coach. And then he comes in and takes a big recruit from, Michigan. Everyone kind of considered that Michigan the leader in that recruitment. You'd love to take one back, fire one back over their bow and get a win if you're Michigan. But, I wouldn't bet necessarily on that when a kid's committed elsewhere. But as we know, until these kids sign, anything can happen. Until, it's the same thing. I was talking to a kid over the weekend who said, yeah, Jim Harbaugh signed just like the rest of us did, and it is kind of similar in that way. So until these guys actually sign, until Jim Harbaugh signed, we had no clue what was going to happen. Until a kid like Rayshawn Benny signs, we also have no clue. So Michigan's still pushing there and has a decent shot, I think, at being able to land him.
Always love getting the Michigan insight and information from Clayton Safey. You can join him on the Wolverine.com. That's the Wolverine Mag. So it's Wolverine, thewolverine.com, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thewolverine.com on Rivals, the platform that's an industry standard. Clayton, we appreciate you stopping by as always, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. We'll do it again soon.